Alright, hello and welcome, Ms. Park. Ms. Park is one of our assistant principals here at school. She actually is the assistant principal. She's wonderful and has taken the time out to let me present to her for my master's thesis. So, I have been researching what do middle level general education teachers of EL students know about the WIDA English Language Development Standards and how are they applied in a unified arts curriculum. So, just a little introduction and background on me. I am a fourth-year teacher here at Jones Middle School in Northern Kentucky. I am teaching STEM currently for 6th through 8th grade. I've had them pretty much all year. I'm pursuing my Master's of Arts in Teacher Leadership with an endorsement in ESL. And I will be done here in just a few weeks. Woohoo! So Jones Middle School has an enrollment of about 800 students, which you are aware of, and we have a very diverse population. So, this is a literature review table. So the below table represents just a peer-reviewed and published research studies that present themes aligning with my research question, okay? So first I have this teacher knowledge of English language development standards with peer-reviewed and published research studies. So this talks mostly about what do teachers already know about the pedagogy of teaching EL students. Preparing teachers to teach diverse learners. This is all about best practices for preparing and prepping teachers for instruction of culturally and linguistically diverse learners. And then down here, implementation of strategies for teaching English language learners. So what are some of those strategies? Something like SIOP, the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, and how do we implement those in a classroom? So for the methodology for this research, I decided to use qualitative methodology for this action research project in order to collect qualitative data. I utilized 3 different data instruments. One was a survey, then an interview, and then an observation. So this type of research allows me to better understand firsthand accounts of what teachers are experiencing here in our building in regards to preparation of and being prepared to teach English language learners. One quote that really stood out to me was by Mertler, and Mertler is kind of like the godfather of action research, and he says qualitative data may be collected using a variety of techniques, but it is important to remember that the resulting qualitative data will always consist of descriptive narrative accounts. Okay, so this is all, like I said, firsthand, and it's going to be written data, not necessarily numbers and things like that. So for participants, data confidentiality, and the protection of human subjects, I had 7 teachers that were participating in this study. All 7 of them were unified arts teachers, and they're best suited to answer my research question because I'm researching what unified arts teachers specifically know about these standards and how they're implemented in their classrooms. They all signed and reviewed a consent letter, and I gave them a pseudonym of a number to protect their identity. The data has been safeguarded through a password-protected Google account, and on or before May 15th, the data will be destroyed. So, participants and all of the stuff that goes with that. So, here are the pseudonyms of the teachers, the subject that they teach, the number of years that they have taught, the type of certification, and then the level of education that they have received. Now, noticing that we do have some that are option 6 teachers, their education might not be as aligned, but some are in a Master of Teachers or Master of Arts for Teaching program currently. And I thought that this was significant because with the certification type and with the number of years taught, it kind of gives you a background of what to expect from that teacher in regards to their knowledge and just, how comfortable they are with students in general, let alone English language learners. So for the data collection, here it talks about the survey, the teacher interview, and the classroom observations. So for the survey, I utilized Google, which is wonderful because it allows you to collect all of the data in one place. I used a Google survey, and teachers responded to a series of 10 questions where I asked them, and kind of gauge their comfortability of teaching EL students, what they know about EL students, what they know about the English Language Development Standards, and then I followed that up with an interview. So based on their responses, I kind of dug a little bit deeper in those responses because we went from written to spoken. And I was able to record and then later on transcribe that information to be able to differentiate and see themes and meta-themes, which I'll talk about a little later. The classroom observation piece, so the teachers were observed in their normal classroom setting. I looked for things like, are standards posted? What standards are posted? You know, how are they interacting with the kids? And then I utilized a Google document to collect that information. It was safeguarded by a password-protected Google account as well. For the analysis, this slide features the data analysis instruments and the method of analysis. So for the survey, I utilized Google, and that did a lot of the metrics for me, which was great. The teacher interview, I utilized a recording app and then uploaded the interview to temi.com, and that transcribes it for you, and then I was able to put that into a Google document and then analyze the data from there. With the classroom observation, during the observation I utilized Google as well on a Google document just to take notes and have all of my observations in one place. So here, this is a little difficult to read just because of the amount of themes that were found, but these are the results from the teacher survey. So these themes right here were from a variety of all of those 7 teachers, but what I thought was really important are meta-themes, and in order to be a meta-theme, that's an overarching theme, I chose 5 or more times it had to occur. So that would mean 5 out of the 7 participants had to mention something about that. So one of the things is that they have minimal experience, if any experience at all, and that most teachers have received some kind of a PSYOP training, right? But minimal experience in implementing. The results for the teacher interview, the themes and meta-themes, again, lots of themes. And then the meta-themes I thought was very interesting because limited to classroom experience occurred 7 out of 7 times. So the only experience that our teachers have are with, inside the classroom. They don't have other observation experience or things like that. Another thing that I thought was interesting is this use of technology. All of our teachers that participated in this study, they utilized technology as a means of teaching our EL students. So things like translation or posting digital visual representations, things like that. Our teachers are utilizing this strategy and they're utilizing it well. For this table number 7, I have my teacher observations, the themes and meta-themes again. Again, lots of themes. And then the meta-themes. Right here, this one stood out the most to me because 7 of 7 of our participants are unfamiliar or there was no use in the observation of the English Language Development Standards framework. Another thing that I thought was actually really unique was that while our teachers might not know these English Language Development Standards and might not be familiar with it, they're still accommodating and giving an alternate assignment option so that all learners can access the information that's being taught. Okay, so this is a list of all of the meta-themes across all of the instruments. So I've got my survey meta-themes, my interview meta-themes, and my observations meta-themes. And so I've highlighted the one overall meta-theme that I triangulated over all of my instruments, which was that teachers are unfamiliar and that they may not use the English Language Development Standards framework. So, in order to answer my research question, what do middle-level general education teachers of English learning students know about the WIDA English Language Development Standards and how are they applied in a unified arts curriculum? So that theme again was that they were unfamiliar or there was little or no use of English Language Development Standards framework within the classroom. However, to answer the question, middle-level general education teachers of EL students are unfamiliar with and do not utilize the English language development standards in unified arts curriculum. Okay? So, conclusions linked to my literature. So, like I said, the theme is middle-level general education teachers of EL students are unfamiliar and do not utilize those standards. And these studies relate the literature to the findings. So, for example, while Hammond, Mayhair, and Faltis discuss what general education teachers of ESL students already know, down here we talked about more of how to implement specific strategies. So, there's not a whole lot of research to go with the English language development standards themselves. So for future research, I've got some recommendations and implications for the future. In my findings, the study found that middle-level educators of EL students are unfamiliar with the English language development standards, and therefore they are not utilized in the unified arts curriculum. The findings suggest that teachers must be educated in implementing different strategies in order to make education more accessible for our EL students. So some action steps that we could take as a school to better the teaching of our EL students is, one, provide more opportunities for teachers to learn about the standards and provide assistance in planning and preparation of lessons, especially in the unified arts classroom. Two, focus on implementing and mastering one strategy at a time so that our teachers don't get overwhelmed or stressed out that they have to meet a certain deadline. And then finally, create accountability for teachers to utilize the English language development framework. An example of that would be utilizing a specific spot on every single teacher's board to post the standard and then hold our teachers accountable to making sure that they are explaining what that standard is, what it means, and how it is tied into that lesson. And then for future research, I think that implementing the English language development standards framework in a small group of different content teachers, then allowing a time period for growth and familiarity of the standards, then studying the implications of implementing the standards in the classroom, whether it is effective or ineffective. What can we do more to give these learners a chance to access at a higher level and meet our high expectations that we have? Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Park. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.